being a Hinge is really, really, really hard, actually, because you are balancing two people, and often their wants and needs can be directly contradictory. And I think a lot of people who are hinging find it difficult to get to the balance point between going too far into people pleasing and giving each partner what they want in a way that ends up swinging back and forth between the two partners, or getting like too focused on only your own wants and needs in a way that can get really self-centered and like negatively independent. Being a Hinge is very, very challenging. You have to do way more communicating. You have to do way more caretaking of your relationships. You have to be more present. You have to put in more work than you would to either of those relationships individually, particularly if there's any friction between the metamors or if there's any attachment issues coming up for anybody. Like, hinging is hard. Hinging is a very difficult position to be in. And I think a lot of people don't appreciate the challenges of being a Hinge, and so they just kind of like dive in and they're like, it'll be great, everyone will be kitchen table poly, everyone will be friendly, it'll be fine. And in an ideal world, yes, that is how it would be, but it turns out we're all actually messy weirdos, and that's often not how it goes, particularly at first. So being a Hinge requires a lot of responsibility. It requires a lot of extra communication, a lot of extra attunement, a lot of work at being very particularly on top of what it takes for both of your relationships to work. And I think it's important to recognize that when you go into a Hinge position and to take on that responsibility very purposefully, because a lot of people, again, just kind of end up in a Hinge position and then they kind of fumble it all over the place. And that's not great for anybody involved. It can create a lot of conflicts and a lot of rifts in your relationships that then create much bigger, deeper problems as you move forward. So if you're going to hinge responsibly. It's like a drunk driving ad, but so much better because you get to have two people you're dating who are fabulous humans. But yeah, hinge responsibly. Really think about, do I have it in me right now to not just have two relationships, but to do like extra for both of those relationships until this Hinge has stabilized. Because like usually at some point a Hinge will stabilize to some extent, but like it's not, you can't always 100% expect that a Hinge will stabilize on its own without any work by you. You need to put in a lot of extra work, particularly at the beginning of a Hinge, or if there's any significant shift in the hinging, to make sure that that Hinge gets stable. And until that Hinge is stable, you're going to be having to do extra. And that's the privilege and the cost of being in that. All right, Zach, I love you. Hello. Friends don't let friends hinge poorly. Yes, we should make t-shirts of this. Friends don't let friends hinge poorly. And it's so common. I've hinged poorly, for sure. I've definitely done some bad hinging. I've had a lot of sweeties and partners who have done some bad hinging. And like doing bad hinging does not make you a bad person. Everybody can recover, right? Not necessarily recover every single relationship or in every single way. Like you're not going to get back to where you were because we can't move back, only forward. But I think acknowledging that you've been falling short in your hinging, acknowledging what you need to do to be a better hinge makes it much easier for you to move forward and like kind of get that balance back on track. Oh yeah, new to this, so it's been rocky. Yeah, new hinges. I mean, to be frank, if you're newly into non-monogamy, if you're newly into polyamory, it is so easy to fall on your face as a hinge because there is nothing in our culture that teaches you how to do it well. It is a very unique kind of situation. And it is really, really easy to mess it up, and the stakes are super high. And so some people, when the stakes are really high, they go to a kind of like combative place and they're like getting very upset with people having these demands of them. Some people go to a kind of avoidant place and they just like kind of try to disappear, right? There's a lot of different things that can happen when you don't understand what it is to hinge well. And so, you know, I think all of us have messed it up. It's just important to look at, you know, what are the responsibilities of a hinge and what are you committing to as a hinge that is not just the commitments you're making to each of the relationships you're a part of. Feels like we're operating without a playbook. Oh, Zach, are you about to shout out my book? You're so sweet. So Zach is probably about to recommend my book, Building Open Relationships, which is a practical how-to guide for non-monogamy. It's got a lot of great worksheets. I think I need to start developing a hinging class, like how to hinge for experts, or like friends don't let friends hinge badly. Yeah, if you're ace, it gets complicated. And I think ace dynamics can be extra complicated when your partner is not ace, or when another of their partners is not ace, because then it also brings up all of the social cultural baggage around like sexual availability, desirability, participation that gets extra super messy. And so again, it's rough. It's really freaking rough. All of it is hard. It's, comparison is the thief of joy. And also, humans are comparison machines. We're like so into comparing. We come up with comparisons all the time. We're pattern makers. And so a lot of times what we will do is we will say, oh, my partner is dating someone else. They aren't ace. They're allisexual. Everybody likes allisexual people. That's who I see all the time. And so obviously they're going to like this person better, right? It's tough. It's so tough. And, there are a lot of great communities, like Zach is saying, that can be helpful. If there's a local polyamory community to you, that's awesome. So you can have friends in like your local space who know about poly and who aren't going to like treat you like a weirdo for doing it. Some people really enjoy the Reddit communities. Reddit, every online community is going to have a mix, right? And so always like figure out what fits for you.